Everybody, oh, I am never really sure what I'm going to talk about, but this is what I'm going to talk about this morning. Uh, I mean, I always want to talk about insulin resistance, right? But today I do want to talk about all this stuff with GLP-1s because it's affecting so many people, and it's really worth talking about. So GLP-1s are drugs like Wegovy, semaglutide, Mounjaro. Let's talk about them. No, I'm not a specialist or the authority on them. I'm just a woman who's out here on a mission trying to help people find better ways to get healthy than drugs that could be damaging them. So, good morning. Good morning. So, this, move this over here. A little different today. So, GLP was the glucagon-like peptide 1. That drug, there's a couple of things these drugs are doing. They're making you feel full by artificially raising that glucagon-like peptide. What that does is it helps you feel satiated through different mechanisms. Through your gut feeling a little distant, so it's already kind of feeling full without anything in it, and through your brain by cueing your brain to shut down hunger. And all that sounds great, right? And that's why it's working for people. But there's some other things that those drugs are doing, and I'll talk about that. And then you guys decide: is that really what you want to do? Do an action that's doing this, or do you want to find a more natural way to be able to have your health back and address the things that are really bothering you in life? So maybe I should do this. Can I switch this? You guys, I'm going to play with things for a second here. Let's take that down and put it back up and see if I can read it. Maybe? Yay, I got it. Okay. It's just me playing with stuff. So, glucagon-like peptide 1. So it's decreasing your hunger, and that's great. Doing it artificially, though, those things tend to wear off. What Dr. Bittman, my favorite metabolic scientist, will tell you is that in about 2 years, that effect wears off. Well, so great. In 2 years, you probably lost some weight and you're having some good results from it, but you haven't addressed the root cause of why you got there in the first place. And haven't fixed that. You're just getting right back there again. And then you're going to be like, oh, shoot, just like the people who've done gastric bypass surgery, gastric sleeve, and they lost weight, but now over time they've get back or they've restretched their stomach. Well, it's financial and sustainable, or what I'd like to do, and I would hope at least to find a more natural and sustainable way to get all of this. So I want to talk about that this morning. I want to talk about the getting it prescribed. So if I forget, or maybe I should just write a note because I do forget stuff. I will RX. That's what I'm going to write. Okay. So peptide 1. It's working well for people, but you guys, there's so many reports, especially people who are doing it long term, of things like your guts starting to get paralyzed, gastroparesis. You can't move the waste out of your system, and then that can be devastating. It's painful, and it's very, very critical in the body. You also can have pancreatitis, some breakdown of your pancreas. One of the other things that they tend to do is increase the production of insulin in the body. Now, that comes from the pancreas. They're already too much insulin. If you guys don't know what all of this is, because I talk about it all the time, maybe I should back up and talk about what insulin resistance is and why I'm talking about pancreas stuff. But the pancreas produces insulin. You're basically producing too much insulin, and that's why your body becomes resistant to it, because there's too much. Now these drugs they're shutting down your hunger, they're cueing you to make more insulin, and now you're putting your pancreas at risk. That's why there's pancreatitis attached to these drugs. So when people tell me that's not how it happens, that's what Dr. Mann tells me. That's why pancreatitis associated with it, creating your need for you to produce more insulin. We're already overproducing insulin. That's the problem. So the other thing, the third thing that I want to talk about that they do, and people don't want to accept this, but this happens not for everyone, but for many people. there's two different types of fat cells. There's on this side, we're different types of fat cells. Talk about the kind that we're going to talk about the kind that replicate, because most of us don't know that our fat cells can actually multiply like little babies. So if you guys have been told that your fat cells never duplicate, that they just are the same fat cells you have when you're born, just growing and depleting, put a comment if you've been told that, because that's at a clinic earlier this year, and I was listening to a TV show they had put on by a doctor, or a podcast out by a doctor, and he was talking about that very thing. So there's a lot I want to say. I said I don't know what I want to say, and yet a lot I want to say. So this doctor got it wrong. You can replicate fat cells. Some of those drugs cue your body to increase your fat cell production, lowering your insulin because there's more places for it to store, but forcing other things going on. Now, when you're off the drugs in about 2 years, when you're not having the satiety effects from the drugs, your fat cells are replicated, you've lost weight, but you go back to your old style of eating, you go back to your older, because you changed the cues, and weight again. But this time, maybe you even gain more weight because now you have more fat cells for stuff to be stored in. That's crazy, right? Is that what you want? Is that how you want it to be? If there was a natural way to increase your glucagon-like peptide 1 in your body by your body increasing it, so that it's not these negative side effects, maybe you want to do that. So I don't know what Zerlite is, and this isn't the channel for that. So now the glucagon-like peptide 1 that is shutting down your hunger, the component of that that's shutting down your hunger, is in yerba mate. I just did a video by Dr. Huberman talking about how huge component of yerba mate. He does talk in the video about how, in the original video, about how there's such a small amount of it in yerba mate tea that the effects would be mild. That's why I choose to use the tea that I use. It's got 375 times some of the components as a regular yerba mate tea because it's concentrated, and so you're getting a much more effective dose of that glucagon-like peptide 1. It's my internet. Hopefully when I get moved, that problem is resolved. I'm going to stop over there. I got to stop